Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. I didn't really want to go to bed today without updating Bitcoin once more. Bitcoin is just above 47k, struggling a little bit, but in a few hours we will know how the daily candle ends. I think that's quite relevant because the candlestick pattern that we can see is quite a possible bearish reversal pattern. So we're going to take a look at that. And I'm not talking about, this is going to be a big crash, because Bitcoin has obviously already broken that 45.8k level, and if it is possible for it to establish it above that level, then we are gonna see much higher prices here in the next few weeks until we reach the target area up here between 55 and 65k. But bear in mind, 51k is the first main resistance. I mean, Bitcoin is just sitting below resistance, but in terms of the Fibonacci retracement levels, we are looking at 51k and then 55k. But we talked about that the indicators, the daily Bitcoin a bit overbought. We saw the MACD already turning around here slightly to the downside on the daily chart. On the 8-hour, you can see that, and possibly we're now getting a bearish crossover. So I already talked about that in the last few videos. So far, however, the sellers really have problems to push the price below 47k. Yeah. So therefore, it is really getting interesting now, especially as we're moving closer towards the 200-day moving average here in yellow. We are moving closer towards that ascending trend line here also in yellow-orange, yeah. And we are still above that ascending trend line. So Bitcoin getting squeezed again into some sort of an apex, just below very important resistance and above an ascending trend line. If it's going to lose that trend line, I think then we can certainly see a retest here, possibly of that previous low at 45.5k, or even that low, of that previous high at 45.5k, or even that high at 44.5k. But in a couple of hours, roughly, a little bit less, we're going to see the daily candle close. And what we can see here currently, and the daily candle has looked the whole day like that, a so-called hammer pattern, or you can even call it a so-called hanging man, which usually occurs at the end of an uptrend. And again, it doesn't need to mean we're going to have a big crash or big retracement, but it could just be a retest of a previous high. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has really moved up here from 37.5k all the way up to 48k without any notable correction. I mean, there's been a bit of a dip here as we struggle to get above 42.7k. But since then, it's pretty much just moved up in a straight line. Now, there are a few things here. First of all, when we had retracements here at these peaks, you've seen candles with long wicks to the upside. Now, we've seen these two here, yeah? And plus, we're now seeing this hanging man pattern, which I did explain before. You can also call it a hammer pattern. It is usually a reversal pattern, but never just use one candlestick or a candlestick pattern alone to make a trading decision. Also, it's always important to understand the context. But here, for me, the context fits very well, because we have moved up quite long. The RSI is overbought. The MACD on the daily also starting to turn around potentially, but on the 8-hour chart already turning. And possibly we're going to get here that bearish crossover probably today or tomorrow. On the 4-hour chart, I mean, you're possibly already starting to turn around, but still we are deeply in the red and we haven't started yet to turn around to the upside again. So if you get that bearish crossover on the 8-hour, that can give it a bit of a sell push. And as I said before, if this candlestick remains like that and we get the daily candle close like that, that would actually indicate that we are getting exhausted here. I mean, you can already see that those candles are at the same height. So basically you're struggling to push much higher. I think, did we see here a bearish divergence? No, I don't think we did, because the price didn't even push higher than this. No, we didn't see a bearish divergence. But still, it is looking a little bit like the price is getting exhausted. I wouldn't be surprised if we come at least to that trend line again. But if we lose it, as I said, we're going to go a bit lower. So just looking at this hanging man really that I wanted to communicate, which basically indicates that, yeah, we had here in the last few days, you can see it, the buyers struggled to hold the price above 48k, so that dropped. We then, even today here, the buyers tried to push the price higher, failed obviously, could only get to 47.7k, then lost all of that. The price moved much lower. Yeah, again, the buyers stepped in, bought again, but really struggled to push the price to the same level again, and it's now at around 47.2, and that just actually indicates exhaustion on the side of the buyers. Yeah, so that's really everything I can tell you today, but typically indicates that we could be due here a potential correction. But yeah, it is just one indicator here. The other important indicators are, of course, that ascending trend line. And of course, as long as you stay above that trend line, you're probably not going to do it. But if you have that pattern together with a breaking of that trend line, I think that can unlock then lower prices, maybe all the way down to 45 or 44.5K. Before we then need to wait how the market decides to carry on then. But generally, we now have more scope on the upside. But what I mean is that we could get a bit of a temporary correction in before Bitcoin will continue its way to the upside. And yeah, we have space here all the way up to 65K actually in this scenario, until Bitcoin would then obviously start to turn around. And what I still expect is that lower range here to be reached between 20 and 29K. So very interesting at the moment. Yeah, just want to update you as I said. Hopefully you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. And if you really like the content, then check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.